Welcome to the Dental Innovation Lab, a place where we explore groundbreaking technologies and ideas that are shaping the future of dentistry. Today, we're going to be talking to a scientist that talks about how research is going to be shaping those technologies. But I am your host, Dr. Shervin Molayem, a periodontist, a dental technologist, a technology advisor. And in this podcast, we're really bringing together the thought leaders, CEOs. So why don't we start? So in particular today, we're going to be talking about innovation in general. Like, what is innovation and why is it important? Why are we talking about it? Why does there need to be a podcast about this? And why now? Well, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is when you think about innovation, it's what is really the disruption and what's shaping the future. And to go look and see how this comes about, really, we want to look at the history of innovation. So let's look at the history of innovation right here on this chart. I actually was a history major. I double majored in history. This name came a lot. Joseph Schumpeter. He's a Hungarian economist who coined the term creative destruction. And what happens is we have different waves, right? So 1785, we had the first industrial revolution, and that lasted about 60 years. And then we had the next wave, which was 55 years. That brought about steam, power, rail, steel. Then the third one came, which brought electricity in the 1900s, chemicals, internal combustion engine. We had steel, so they were able to go taller up with buildings. 40 years, which lasted 50 years. Then the fourth industrial revolution came about, which brought petrochemicals, electronics, aviation. The fifth industrial revolution, which was digital network, software, basically the internet and a new type of media. We are currently in the sixth wave, okay? So this wave is basically artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. You're going to be hearing that word a lot. IoT is Internet of Things. It's everything is connected to some sort of internet, right, that connects with each other. So you have the Nest camera, and you have your smart home, and you have your iPhone, and everything is interlinked, working together. Something to keep in mind, when you look at this chart, you'll see that each wave gets shorter and shorter. Okay, so the amount of the speed at which technology comes about is much more quicker with each wave. And also, as you look, you'll see the waves keep getting taller and taller, which means that the amount of technology and the breakthroughs that are happening are much more aggressive, more rapid, and happening. It's at a higher. It's exponential. Okay, so what does that mean for us? It means being in this, wave. If you look at that light green. Since actually if you look at the one that was the last 30 years, the next one we're predicting is going to last 25 years. And it started already, they said, in 2020. So if we have, 2020, 5 years from there. So we have already about 5 years in, we have another 20 years of this revolution, this new wave of lots of technology. And the foundation of that technology is AI, robots, drones, and Internet of Things. Now, how are we going to, translate that to dentistry? We're going to be going through that in the podcast. The other important aspect I want people to remember is, if you go to the next chart, is each of these, whenever this new technology comes about, really, there are certain innovators, right, and early adopters, and then you have the early majority. And each of these, if you look, it's a bell-shaped curve in blue, and at 50% market share, you'll see there's only, about 34%, another 34% come in at that time. So there's 16% that are really lagging. So it's a true bell-shaped curve here. And my goal is for people to be able to see this, right? There's this big shift and paradigm shift that you have to see, right? If you know the history, you can get a better understanding of the future. And as a dental professional, as being in the dental industry, you could position yourself to benefit. You could invest. You can contribute and really be a part of this revolution. But really, you have to, in order to do that, you have to take a risk, be out of your comfort zone, predict, right? You have to be a predictor and get all the information that you can to put yourself in that position. So with that, we're going to get to our first uh, person that we're going to speak with today, who's going to be Dr. Anirudha Agnihotry. He's in San Francisco area, and he is really a brilliant person that you guys are going to get to meet. But first, we're going to get a word from our sponsor. The way we think about dentistry by offering virtual consultations, 24/7 emergency dental care, and even second opinions, all from the comfort of your home. Their innovative tools like the MouthCam let you monitor your oral health in between visits, and their platform connects you with top dentists nationwide. I've personally checked them out, and it's not just convenient, it's game-changing. If you've been putting off that dental visit, now is the time to try Dentulu. Head to dentulu.com/DI Lab and experience the future of dentistry today. All right. So we have here Dr. Agnihotry from, where are you based out of?
I'm in Visalia right now. I live in Visalia. I practice in Tulare, and then I work at the Stevenson Dental Research Institute, which is based in San Dimas. And I do go to San Francisco as well. I'm actually a part of a certificate program for clinician scientists, which is run by UOP and Stanford University. So kind of go back and forth everywhere. So I'm pretty much from everywhere, but basically in Visalia.
Oh, amazing. All right. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am an internationally trained dentist, and I had been curious pretty much all my life, and I started doing research when I was in dental school in India. I did my bachelor in dental surgery from Manipal, India, and I started doing research probably from second or third year. Looked into audio analgesia, looked into dental materials, and mostly evidence-based dentistry, which I kind of later on worked on. And in 2013, I moved to US. I was at UCLA for a couple of years where I did some advanced certificate training programs in preceptorships. And then I worked as a research associate in the restorative department as well for a year. Uh, and while doing that, I did a lot of evidence-based dentistry, some Cochrane reviews, which were focused on antibiotics again, antibiotic prescription uh, in irreversible pulpitis. That's my biggest work, I would say. And then I was also involved in some, again, restorative dentistry related research.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, I did my international DDS or the advanced standing DDS from the UOP. After that, in 2018, I graduated. I started working as a full-time clinician in the Central Valley region um, in Visalia, in Tulare County. And in 2021, I started working with Dr. Richard Stevenson again, who was my professor at UCLA, and I used to do research with him.
Amazing. Yeah, he was my teacher as well at one point.
Yeah, that's such a
Yeah.
coincidence and such a pleasant surprise, right?
Yeah. He's amazing.
He's great. So he was setting up a research wing to his continuing education institute, which is called the Stevenson Dental Solution, and he wanted to start doing research again. So he brought me back to it. But in the whole course of
Yeah.
time, I've been consulted, and mostly informally, I have advised people on a lot of products. I did some research, published some, on these products as well. So I understand that, and now I'm kind of more actively involved,
Yeah.
and I'm helping a couple of products right now.
Amazing. So the way I look at it is, we have a new technology or innovation that comes about. You have a company that's created a CEO. You have the, CTO maybe. You need a product, and then you need to know if this thing works, right? Before you create a company, you have to have something and know that it works before you create this, right? So research is the step before, correct? But it could also be done after the company is formed. A third party, such as yourself, can come to the company and say, hey, I want to test your product to see if it works well, right? Or else we're just taking their word for it. We don't know if what they're reporting is true, and they might be making a, bogus claim, exaggerated claim, whatever, right? How do we know if those dollars invested in that company are being thrown away or not, right? So I find that there's two different roles in research. One is the in the development early on, and one is the testing phase. Could you tell us a little bit about each of these phases?
So yeah, so development of a product is one aspect of it, which is mostly coming from the tabletop research or the basic sciences research. And then once you develop a product, you then kind of try it for side effects and a lot of other stuff with animal models. And after that works and it's ready to be tested in humans, and if there is no ethical obligation of not trying it, then we do human studies. So the whole process is called as translational research, and that is one of the focus of National Institute of Health or the U.S. government right now, and there is a lot of funding available for that.
Has research in itself been innovated?
A lot. I have seen that. I mean, if you, so I my basic curiosity, which I would say I was generally curious, and I was always wondering on how stuff works and how things work and how it interacts with the human body. But when I got more involved with evidence-based practice or evidence-based dentistry, that's the time when I kind of got more involved with everything. And I've seen that that is called as the secondary or the tertiary research. Primary research is the direct research. And then when you collate all that data which was done in the primary research, that is called the secondary or tertiary. So, you go ahead and uh, get the data from all the studies done on a simple problem and then try to see if it works or not. That's what we call systematic reviews, which is quite a recent phenomenon. It started in the 90s by a bunch of clinicians who were actually, I think, gynecologists or pediatricians who just came up to a library, hand searched articles, and found some uh, uh, studies on low term birth rates in uh, uh, premature babies.
Hmm.
And that was the first, I would say, systematic kind of a review. And then the
Yeah,
whole methodology was set up. So this
yeah.
is a pretty recent phenomenon, and we
Interesting.
found so much out of it.
So that is that kind of like the Cochrane review?
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
Cochrane reviews, that's how Cochrane started, actually.
yeah. So I think people have to understand that there's a pyramid of research where the bottom of the pyramid is like anecdotes, is like one person, has tried this, personal experiences. The next level that's that you take the science, you know, serious is if it's an expert opinion, right? And then it goes up to the trial. They did it some sort of trial. Then it's randomized, double-blind trial. Then at the tip of it is what he's talking about is a systematic review, which is taking all of these other researches, analyzing them, and seeing what the trend of all of these are. Right? That's the highest level of research today.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
And if sometimes someone might be biased. So, if you're looking at 50 researches that are amongst this, kind of done the same way, and one or few of them are biased, then you just take those out. Those didn't make sense, and then follow the main trend. That's why just going based off of one study is could be dangerous. And if you're gonna gamble your life on it, I wouldn't, because one study could be biased, it could be skewed, it could be off, it could be wrong. That's my
Yeah,
take of it.
that's 100% what it is, and that's a pretty recent phenomenon. It started in the 90s, and nowadays we've went a step ahead now. And if you've heard of the real world evidence, RWE, where we set up these practice-based research network where the even the companies can do it. They can approach those people. The biggest one is run from University of Alabama. They have hundreds of millions of dollars running it. They recruit dentists, specialists in private practice, and then they do studies in the real world. So that's one way of doing it. And the other one that is coming up nowadays is that they directly extract data from the EHR, the electronic health record. They have de-identified data, and all these insurance companies actually, they also provide that data which is de-identified, and obviously they follow all the rules they're supposed to, but that data is valuable.
Now, you're also able to, get money from grants and the funding, right? Do you deal with that aspect? How does that work? When a company is trying to do, a test and research, like who's paying for that? How do they get funding?
So there are multiple ways that you can approach it. There's something called as the National Science Foundation. So what you do is you register your organization into a system that is by the government. It's called the sam.gov, and you register your company to directly get funding from the government in that, and then you apply for a grant through their system from National Science Foundation, NSF. So they have agenda for each year on what they focus, and then they have a term to that, and they uh, announce funding opportunities which you can approach and tell them what your idea is, and they will just fund your idea. If you're trying to solve a problem, if you're developing something, if you just want to test it out. Apart from this, there are a lot of other grants available uh, in by National Institute of Health already, and there are a lot of other organizations. Just for example, for the translational research from developing an idea from tabletop or to primary, the basic sciences to clinic, it's called the translational research, and they have the organization, the government organization for that is called the NCAS. So all this information is available. It's a tedious process. You have to apply for it. Sometimes they need some preliminary data, which the company has to fund themselves. Sometimes a lot of funding is available at the institution itself. For example, so look at it as collaboration. You, the academicians or people who do research, they just want to report what they do. So if you're open for them to publish the data, if you've already secured the patent, then you have to not worry about it. So you just approach them if they have funding available, if they have the resources,
Yeah.
then you can just go ahead.
Well, now that we have, the Department of Government Efficiency now, DOGE is coming, right, with
Yeah.
Donald Trump coming into the term. Um, is there going to be a risk where some of this funding might be cut?
Yeah, there was somebody shared a news article with me. Again, I'm too much. I don't think there is anything recently that's going to happen. There will be some funding cut, and I totally understand it. They might be, they will not be focused towards not solving a certain amount of problem. They might pull out of funding from, say, a certain uh, area. Say, example, the current administration or the current trends supported, say, an ABC kind of funding, and that ABC kind of funding is not on the agenda of the next one, and they think that a lot of dollars are wasted, and if they unanimously decide that let's cut that funding, they will definitely do it, and they will direct it to other places where it's needed according to them. Again, they're experts on what they're doing, and I can totally understand that part. So yes, there is some risk involved.
Yeah.
Uh,
So where we met is, you know, from the point of view of uh, investing in a company,
mhm,
the you know we came across a company that is wanting to revolutionize the delivery of drugs into our bodies, right? So right now, most of the drugs you swallow, a capsule, tablet, gets degraded in the GI, and then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. That way, it takes 45 minutes or so. It's some of it is not bioavailable, and it's not very efficient, right? It takes time, and not all of it is getting absorbed into the bloodstream. So two issues. So we came across a company uh, that you put this, some dissolvable tablet in the mouth, and it will get diffused into the buccal mucosa or underneath the tongue. Could you talk about that? And right now you're working on a research to try to test that, right? So if the claim that they're making is true, then that could be a really, really big company, correct? Because
yes,
you could put any kind of drug in this delivery system. There's a lot of people that don't like to swallow tablets, capsules. They're too big. They have a gag reflex. It's kind of weird. When I was little, I didn't want to, swallow something. And so if you have this new, invention, really, discovery, that you can deliver it easy, faster, then all drugs can get affected. This is a pharmaceutical play. Could you talk about that? This is really fascinating to me.
yeah, it's a pretty great innovation that has come out, and I've never thought that they would do it. But what they did actually is they claim that they increase the bioavailability of a drug. So, for example, if you swallow a pill and if you say you swallow 100 milligrams, and bioavailability is how much is available in the human bloodstream after it's been ingested or swallowed. Say it is 10. Now they're saying out of 100, 10 is available. They're saying that we can do it to 60, 70%. So if you just take it by the method that they are suggesting, and their method is just chewing a gum, and they call it a functional gum.
Mhm.
So if you chew on that functional gum for, say, 5 minutes or 15 minutes, 2 times a day or something like that, simple, you can uh, get it more bioavailable. So what's the financial implication of it? So you don't have to pay for 100 milligram of the active compound. If it is 60 to 70% more efficient, you can probably just put 20 to 30 grams or milligrams of that in that functional gum.
Amazing.
And that's going to revolutionize. So they again see this is a very interesting part, the way the company is approaching it, because they have the patent on it, they have the international patent, so we can publish in any research about it.
Hmm.
So they made a range of products,
Hmm.
and one of the products is for and their products are basically supplements. So if you claim a medication that does not really treat something, and you just say that it's a supplement which will help with that condition, you do not have to go through a thorough FDA clearances. But if you have to develop a product that is a drug, you have to uh, get it cleared through the FDA, and it involves a lot of randomized trials, and the way the pilots have to be done, and more data has to be reported to FDA for them to review, and then they kind of accept it or not as a drug. And what he did is he took some supplements that have been shown uh, that they really work in periodontitis, uh, and then he put them in that functional gum. And he did some short-term studies, which found that it reduces the active inflammatory markers in the mouth, which is kind of suggesting towards active inflammation or not, that you can see in terms of gingivitis or periodontitis. So what we are going to do now is we are going to focus just on periodontitis. Periodontitis, as you understand, is so the difference between gingivitis and periodontitis is gingivitis is the infection or the inflammation of just the gums, and periodontitis involves the bone underneath, and it has more damage than gingivitis, and it's a long-term damage. So we have to do long-term studies. So that's what we're designing. Uh, so what I did is I talked to the people, experts in the field. I have uh, a professor who's he's a periodontist himself. He's based in India, and he works for the government there. And he's done a lot of randomized control trials, and he has looked at periodontitis. So I went to him and told him, this is the guy that made a product. They want to test it, and these are the claims. And these are the tests that they are suggesting. And we looked at it and we came up with the idea that those tests are good, but they're going to just tell us that if it's effective against only gingivitis. So now we added more tests to it. We made another study, and we are going to propose it to the founder now. And the founder, at this point, the founder is funding it himself because we are able to get him the resources at a fraction of a cost. Say, honestly, it's just going to be like 5% or 10% of what he would have spent in US, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe less,
Mm-hmm.
just because the resources are already set there. In an academic institute in US, if we contacted them, they would have to go back and see if they have all the resources to do that or not. They merely need a few things because they have all the equipment to do the testing, for example, the RT-PCR and all that. They just need the kits. So it's going to be a few $1,000s rather than a few $100,000. It's that big a difference. So we're going to test that out. The other one is so the claim of bioavailability.
Yeah.
So one of the supplements that is very common, he is suggesting that we, that his uh, way of delivery can really help it. So what we are going to do is I have connections in some pharmacy schools. I'm going to talk to some pharmacology professors and try to see if we can do a small pilot study. A pilot study is an exploratory short or small power. That means with lesser number of people involved or individuals involved, participants involved,
Yeah.
kind of sit. We'll just do a single arm crossover where we test the same group of people, say just 5 to 10 is enough. We just give them that pill, see how much of the drug is there in their body, in their blood, wash it out for like 2 3 weeks, and then give them the uh, functional gum and see how performs. So when the data is out, we can just present it. So what happens? It's vetted by a third party.
Right.
So
It,
the interest, and it's a win-win situation. It's a collaboration. So the founder want to see, they want some unbiased eye to look
yeah.
at the
So basically,
product.
we want a third party to test. We don't want the company that's creating this to test. That's what this is all about, right? Because there's a trust issue. We want to, verify then trust.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with health and money, right? Two things that really are a key to this whole recipe, right? We want to deliver good outcomes. We want the outcome to be very efficient, right?
Mhm.
And we want it to um, spread across really not only that industry but possibly other industries.
That's
So this is something that can really change and have a profound impact. We can't, and you said a trial, a pilot trial. Um, is that enough of a research, or based off of that, you may do a second one? Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want to put all our resources in confirming everything. We just want to first see that if it works or not, if it's worth it. So you do a little bit. You don't spend all the dollars on getting a lot of people involved, getting a lot of testing done. What you do is that you do a broad, uh, small, short kind of a study just to see if there is any promise. And then when you do it, you learn a lot. You learn how it could have been done better. So what you do is you change your methods and then you split your studies in focusing in certain areas. Sometimes you see that you do the side effects are the main effects.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's a you're also from UCLA. You know that sildenafil
Yeah, yeah,
was
Viagra.
medicine. Yeah,
Yeah.
Viagra was a medicine that was being tested for its heart issues and or the outcomes on the heart, not for the other effect, the erectile
Yeah.
dysfunction.
Yeah.
That was a side effect that actually that so in the pilot they found out and then they did the other study. So exactly what we do is that we see what effects are. We have a broader vision of how things are working, and then we can focus on certain things, and then we can reconfirm it. And moreover, what happens if something is too promising in a pilot, then other people start to take it up, and then they don't even need funding from you. If
Mhm.
how the research world, academics, or healthcare providers who are also researchers, they behave. They look at something, they see a lot of promise, and they want to be. They're curious, and they want to just go ahead and try and see if it works or not. So what happens is the load of funding shifts to them. So we have to be very efficient with our dollars too, because we don't have to spend a lot and we get more answers and we move ahead.
Now, there was a bleaching product that you talked about. Could you explain that? That was a very fascinating story. I think the people would really resonate with.
Yeah, so I would say it's interesting. The company is doing pretty well. The company is just not working with that product.
Yeah, what do
So
they
that
do?
product,
What's the idea?
yeah, so the product was on whitening of teeth or bleaching.
Hmm?
We usually use hydrogen peroxide, and one substitute for hydrogen peroxide was carbamide peroxide that was developed, which causes less sensitivity and is really effective. And uh, that product was based on chlorine dioxide. So the my focus was if it's being as effective as the hydrogen peroxide or carbamide peroxide or not. And the biggest problem with the carbamide peroxide was composites. So what carbamide peroxide or hydrogen peroxide does is it's known that they increase the surface roughness. So the surface roughness of the composites or the filling material, if it is increased, then it takes up more stain and it stains more than the two. So that's why they ask you to get the fillings done after the bleaching is done or the whitening is done. And what else they also ask is after the whitening is done, you can polish. So when it's polished, the surface roughness goes back to the range that does not take up more stain. So my idea was that if there is any product that can check the surface roughness and can be productive or not. So the study that I did was we just checked if it is as good as peroxide or carbamide peroxide in treating the composite. So, for example, a lot of people already have those fillings. So, if they want to whiten their teeth, it's better to uh, get car- uh, get a product that will not increase the take up of the stain later on by not increasing the surface roughness. So, but before even doing that, we want to see if it's actually effective or not. So that product was actually slightly superior than carbamide peroxide, and we did some pilot of the surface roughness tests also, which we did not publish because it was not accepted by the journals because they wanted to see more data. Uh, so it's not out there, but it worked. but the company discontinued the product because the cost of producing it and trying to promote it and market it was too much. So what they rather focused on was the mouth rinses
Hmm.
with chlorine dioxide, because they work really well for the uh, bad odor bacteria.
Oh,
They kill them
interesting.
really
Interesting.
well. So they focus more on that, and then they diversify it in other industries, not just dental, but
Yeah.
they also have a lot of products based on the same compound in vet, in medical, and
Yep.
all those.
No, the vet is very, people that could complain about their pets, bad breath. Definitely. They maybe put some of that in their water when they're licking it and, improve their breath. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were pretty innovative. So the it was very interesting because the founder, that when I spoke with him, he was 90 something years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was it was based in Long Island, I guess.
90 years old and he's an inventor of this. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He made a big company already, which used to make some surgical the microsurgical instruments,
Hmm.
and he sold it. And this was his next project, which
Yeah.
took him another 40 years. And I mean, I'm not in touch with them. I'm not sure if he's still around,
Yeah.
but this was 10 years ago.
You can really rely on these guys to help you grow your practice. For over 15 years, Dental Game Plan has been helping dentist offices across the country attract more patients, increase revenue, and build thriving practices. Whether you're looking for expert marketing strategies, a stronger online presence, or proven systems to grow your business, they've got you covered. Their teams know the dental industry inside and out, so you can trust them to deliver results. I know many doctors who've use them and swear by their work, and they are extremely good at what they do. In fact, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors like Dental Game Plan. Without their support, this show wouldn't be possible. So if you're ready to take your practice to the next level, visit dentalgameplan.com/DI lab today, or click on the link below in the description of this video. All right. So, you know, as far as the steps, right? The order of how the flow works, we have to first, figure out the financial viability of a company, right? You can't just go testing every single product, everything that you ever hear about. Let me find out if that's true, right? For when we're looking at companies, we want to know if this is true, right? What is the business plan? What is the go-to-market strategy? Who are the potential customers? How scalable it is? Um, what percent of the market is going to get penetrated? Um, Product velocity. These are really important because if you have a product, one thing that we want to remember with innovation is that it's not just, we don't want to just make things a little bit better, right? From if this product that we're putting in the mouth versus swallowing, right? The dissolvable or chewing gum versus swallowing. If it's gonna make it from 45 minutes to 30 minutes, how big of a deal is that, right? Yeah, it's good. It's good. But is that a game changer in technology? I don't think so. Will could that be the thing? The next thing it could be, but you're not going to jump on the bandwagon so quick. You're going to wait, you know. But if I tell you, from now on, the drugs or supplements, right? Because people are taking more and more supplements than ever now, especially post COVID. If we can make those supplements now get dissolved and into our bloodstream in 5, 10, 15 minutes, now we're talking. Right now we're talking. That's gonna make someone want to change and move to either buy it, invest in it, right? If the thing, how investable is this company? Because companies, these startups, they run out of money, and when they run out of money, they have to go pitch to get more money. And if they're just telling the next investor that we are able to save, 20-30% of time. That's one type of pitch. You're not going to get people throwing money so fast. But if you say, if we could improve it by 80%, right? Now that's an innovation worth investing in, because it has downstream ramifications that will be humongous, right? And really industry changing. So, first step, financial viability. If so, second step, third party testing, right? Which is what your specialty is. Then what's after that?
Then it's just dissemination, dissemination of the idea and the findings. So, for example, the study for that gum for periodontitis that we're looking at. What our plan is we'll get short-term results, and then ideally we should keep doing it until 6 or 5 years at least, uh, just to see if how it affects in long term. And the idea would be to present it at American Academy of Periodontology conference in Toronto. So that's our aim. When it gets presented there, all the early adopters are the people who are actually looking for new technology. They go there, they see it, and then they kind of start following the trend. They
Mhm,
pick it up,
mhm.
and probably they have ideas to do more research on it. So then it takes up in that region.
Right.
And the other part is the or that population, and the other part is the patient population. So you have to also make sure that you promote it, market it. You start to put some dollars in
Yeah.
for doing that part as well.
Awesome. So, in concluding, how does one benefit from this, right? How could one really, improve upon this, improve their life from this information and knowledge that we're talking about today?
Uh, in what sense?
How could people listening to this position themselves to benefit from, research, but is it going to conferences and maybe they're the first to hear about these things right before it goes to you know, to the consumer, to the advertisement, right? The advertisement is the end, right? That's when usually we hear about these things, right? When it's being advertised or in the dental magazines or in the websites, or now it's on a TikTok. What, how do we get involved earlier?
Oh, before it gets there, or
Yeah,
before you get there to get the data? I would say, like, before you get into advertising something and claiming a certain thing, if what happens is that when somebody looks at, say, you spend $10,000 on advertising something, uh, but you did not spend anything in actually vetting your claims. So after that $10,000 spent on advertising, you have a lot of interest, and people revert back to you based on what are you saying that this works. So you have to have an answer ready for that. So before you get into a full-fledged marketing of a product or an intervention or anything that it works and percent, you should have the data to back it.
got it. One more kind of funny thing. The commercials that say, 9 out of 10 dentists believe that. Was there any relative, is it true what they're saying?
I mean,
Any, is
I
that just made up? Like 9 out of 10, and then there's like it
it
shows
could
like,
have been a result of a market research kind of survey done probably, and it could be true because it was heavily marketed to dentists, and maybe dentists did recommend it. So we don't know.
yeah, we don't know.
But
Which 9 dentists are they? Are they,
who's
nine?
that one?
Yeah, yeah. Who is the one? Is it the first 10 people that they talked about? Is it a sample of, 1,000? This is very interesting. Whenever I hear that, like 9 out of 10 dentists, or, um, it always it sounds a little bit fishy.
Yeah, and that's that's another way. Like sometimes marketing uh, trumps everything, and it kind of makes a product work
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I'm not saying that the product that we're talking about, with 9 or 10 dentists, or any product that claims that uh, is not innovative, or they have not done their due diligence and it doesn't work. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I'm just saying that the way you market it also
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
I
I'll
mean,
give you
mar-
an example. There's this water flosser that it says is better than flossing, and I actually use. I bought it. I use it, and um, after I floss, I still get some stuff out. So I'm like, wait, if it's better than flossing, and why does it take the floss for it to come out?
So I actually did look into it,
Yeah.
and the this was a question that a lot of my patients ask me, and that's what I do. I actually go back to the literature and find studies, because that's my job. So I did find it that there were a number of studies done uh, that water irrigation actually removes better than flossing. But again, the question is, what kind of participants were there?
Yeah.
Most of these studies, again, were sponsored by company itself.
Yes.
So there's always a bias
Yeah.
like that. But we do need more studies. I personally think that the skill of flossing is also something that has to be learned, because most of the my patients, I do not really it's not that they don't want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they have issues and their
Yeah.
dexterity is not that good,
Yeah.
and they don't
So
have the patience to go once and twice and kind of
yeah.
go around the tooth.
Yeah. So as a periodontist, personally, my patients that I see, the ones after I do an pocket reduction surgery, the ones that come back with issues, maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line, will be the ones that just water floss only, maybe.
Hmm.
So my best analogy is that it's like only going every time you get a car wash, it's like only going and getting hosed down. It's clean, but after a few years, there's this film, right?
Yeah.
This thick film that it's never been, and this is in between the teeth, right? So it's never been polished. That's why when they come, you'll see little specks of radiographic calculus interproximal, and right. And then
Mhm.
there is the holistic dentist, the really, really holistic dentist. There's a from Germany. There's one. There's a few that are popular that say that we shouldn't be flossing at all. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know. This is a thing
Hmm.
that we should not be flossing, and I keep looking to myself. Maybe I'm missing something. There's been stuff that I've missed. That I learned in school. There's a parent a certain way, and I realized damn, I learned the wrong way, but all I see are the people who don't floss. They have the bleeding gums and they have the bone loss. So why are they saying that, flossing is bad? Well, I know why they say, I'll give you the reasons. One of the things that they say is, well, you're spreading, right? The actual removal, the act of doing it is spreading the bacteria, which, you know, okay, I can grasp a little bit, but isn't the consequence of leaving bacteria and building up and eating away the bone potentially more, consequential than a spread? I don't know. This is something very interesting, but what's your take on that?
I think it's not that complicated to me, because we have seen that flossing actually improves the periodontal measures. Long-term studies have been there, and we have all the data. So uh, there can be new approaches to the problem, but I would say that to me personally, it's not a problem that needs to be solved. I think people have been educated enough that flossing is important, and a lot of people are flossing. We don't have to
Yeah,
find an easier way out. Uh, Have you
Yeah.
heard that some people create opportunities out of problems,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
some people create problems out of
yeah,
opportunities.
yeah. I know you're gonna say that.
So I think it's kind of that of a problem because you're overcomplicating it. Uh, I do understand that we do need to understand the microbiome. We need to focus on that. That's all
Yeah,
true. But we already know that flossing works, and it's a very simple mechanical removal of
yeah,
the biofilm,
yeah.
and I think that's good.
Now, the people that are saying that, maybe they have a good microbiome, their diet is excellent, low sugar, they're mouth taping, they're not getting dry mouth, you know, um, they're taking their vitamin D3, K2, right? So tartar is getting pulled into the bone and into the tooth. They're using maybe not nanohydroxyapatite for their toothbrush. Um, Whatever it is, their mouthwash, their oil pulling, they're doing all this stuff. And then they make the claim that you don't need to floss, maybe in their mouth doing all those things, right? But now there's a clip of them saying that, and it's going viral on social media. And then we get the messages from like our friends, like, why are we seeing all of this stuff that makes no sense? That's counterintuitive to, you know, oral health. So I think it's good to just have this discussion, talk about it, let people know that there's different points of views, and you know, um, you mentioned something about you know most people floss. Actually, I think that the studies show that only 20% of people actually floss regularly. By regularly, I think it's every day or even every other day. You can maybe say as regular, but every day, 20%, not even. And then there's another study, of the people that say they floss to their dentist, like half of them are lying. So, um, you know, right? You're That's where these studies are coming. People may not check the right box.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people floss as much as we think.
Okay.
And it depends on their genetics, their interleukin 6 gene, whatever, the amount of strep in their strep mutans in their mouth, what kind of periodontal pathogens are in their mouth, what quantities. uh, what I see is the people that have a lot of periodontal pathogens, very high levels, when I check their saliva, those are especially like AA or P. gingivalis. Those are the ones that don't get a lot of cavities. And it's because those bacteria compete with the ones that cause cavity and keep them in check,
Mhm.
right? So what happens, okay, I've seen this over and over and over and over again, where 35 to 35 to 38-year-old patient, and sometimes 30, let's say call it 30 to 40-year-old patient comes in, never had a cavity, or maybe a couple of cavities that are only occlusal, which means I know they had it when they were really young, and I call it out on them. I'm like, you got this cavity when you're really young. They're like, yeah, how'd you know? Because that's what I see. Their mouths are really clean overall from the strep mutans and other karyogenic bacteria. But then once they get in their 30s, when periodontal disease really kicks off, is when all of a sudden they start getting these gum issues, bone loss, bleeding gums. And that's why they're sitting in my chair at that age. And I see it almost every day, I have to say. Very often, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm just like, same thing. No cavities, bone problems. So, what I think, my hypothesis on this is that they never really had to floss, right? Because they never really had dental problems. They weren't in the dental office getting drilled and filled like a lot of kids and teenagers do. So they think they're immune. They never developed the skill to do it because they didn't have to do it because there was no consequences. But at that mid 30s, their body changes, and now all of a sudden they haven't changed with their body because the habit was informed. And now they're starting to get problems. I see that over and over and over again.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. That's true. I mean, I totally understand when you say that not a lot of people floss and the way they report and how it kind of changes over time. I totally understand that. But the smaller fraction that is already flossing, we should not discourage them by saying that you don't need to floss. That's what
Exactly.
I was trying to say.
Exactly.
And if you remember that famous news article that came out about a Cochrane review that it says that flossing doesn't work. So what actually happened, the story behind it is so funny because the one of the journalists for Associated Press, his orthodontist, read the Cochrane review, which so we look at the outcome measures. So the outcomes are what you're trying to see if flossing works or not.
Yeah. That pocket depth, whatever it is, recession, whatever it is. Yeah.
So the outcome was cavities, and the outcome measure was plaque score. It was not
Mhm.
DMFT. So plaque score is just how much plaque is accumulated or not. DMFT is the number of cavities or fillings that they have.
Mhm.
So what they try to see if when you floss and your plaque score goes down or not. So when you floss, your cavity in between your teeth does not happen or is less because the plaque score is less. That's what they said. So what they said is that there is a low quality evidence because this quality of the studies was low, and there was high uncertainty because of that, and it was indirect evidence that we're looking at plaque and we're not looking at the cavities. So the orthodontist, everybody, I also kind of read something and sometimes interpret it differently,
Yeah.
and people do it. So that orthodontist looked at it and he said, oh, maybe flossing doesn't work. That's what Cochrane says.
Hmm.
So that Associated Press journalist thought, oh, this is a good story. Flossing doesn't work. So he started putting up news articles about it, and everybody else picked it up because it sounds so outrageous that your dentist always tells you to floss, but flossing doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of
Yeah.
got
Yeah. It's
into
clickbait
kind of the
too.
pop
It's very
culture
good.
opinions.
Clickbait is another thing. People, if it sounds outrageous, it's going to get clicked on, and then yeah. Well, I wanted to say thank you for joining us. We really learned a lot from your talk, and we hope you could come back in the future for another scientific session with us in the lab. So,
For sure, why not?
all right, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Sure, you too. It was great speaking with you.
You too. All right. Well, we have it. We had a beautiful podcast today. We learned a lot about innovation, the relationship to research and industry. We had a lovely guest, and we hope you come back in the future for more episodes. Take care.